Chapter 1. Memory is a liar. They say when you erase something from your mind, the pain goes too. But they're wrong. The pain doesn't vanish. It just loses its name, and that makes it worse. I woke up in a cabin deep in the forests of northern Finland. No signal, no ID, just a name scratched into the wood by the bedpost. Reeve. I didn't know what it meant, but it made my chest tighten, like hearing the echo of a voice I wasn't supposed to forget. My shoulder was bandaged, and there was a dull ache in my right leg. The kind of ache that suggested shrapnel, not age. On the nightstand sat a photo, burnt at the edges, faded beyond recognition. But the eyes staring back at me? They were mine. Somehow, that was more terrifying than the blankness in my head. Chapter 2. Silence in the cabin. The cabin creaked with the weight of memory I couldn't access. I didn't leave for 3 days. The wind outside howled like something old was calling my name. Inside, everything was stocked. Canned food labeled in a language I couldn't consciously identify, but which my hands instinctively sorted. I didn't know who I was, but my body remembered how to survive. I found a pistol under the floorboards, a knife taped beneath the sink, a rifle in the attic crawlspace, not hidden out of fear, staged for readiness. Whoever I was, I'd expected company. On the third night, I found a burner phone in a drawer. One message, voice only. If you're hearing this, you made the choice. You pulled the trigger. Palisades is gone. Echo is gone. But the fallout? That's just beginning. No name, no explanation. But the voice? It was familiar. Like a brother I couldn't name. Like a wound I couldn't see. Chapter 3. The Girl with Gray Eyes. She appeared on the 4th day, hood up, coat soaked from the freezing rain. She didn't knock. She just stepped inside and looked at me like I was a grave she had already cried over. You don't remember me, do you? Her voice cracked, not from fear but from exhaustion. I shook my head. She didn't cry. She didn't reach for me. She just set down her bag, unzipped her coat, and said, "I'm Ava, and you're my brother." I wanted to believe her. But the name triggered nothing, just that same tightening in my chest. I watched her pull out a map, old and marked with red circles and lines. "They think we're dead," she said. "Let's keep it that way." Chapter 4. Instinct over memory. Ava moved through the cabin like she had lived there before, but everything about her was cautious, methodical. She didn't touch anything without first checking its edges, the way someone does when they've been betrayed by everyday things. I didn't stop watching her. I didn't trust her. Not because of anything she said, but because my instincts were louder than my missing memories. And my instincts screamed at me to always calculate. She brewed something herbal, handed me a cup, and sat across from me like a field agent debriefing a ghost. "We used to train in places like this," she said. "Cold, remote, untraceable." Her tone didn't waver. "You were the best of us, Jack, until they broke you." The name still didn't feel right. Jack. It sat on my tongue like a code I didn't have clearance to use. Chapter 5. The Echo of Blood. The 3rd night, I woke up screaming. The sheets soaked through. My breath jagged. My fists clenched like they'd been holding a weapon in a dream. Ava stood in the doorway, eyes sharp, but not surprised. "You used to wake up like that when we were kids," she said. "They called them residuals, side effects of the conditioning." I didn't ask what conditioning. I already knew. Somewhere deep inside I felt it, a thrum in my blood that wasn't just adrenaline. It was programming. Ava showed me scars on her shoulder, 2 matching mine. "They said we were twins," she muttered. "But you never believed them. You always thought I was just another project Echo bolted onto your life." I looked at her. "Were you?" She didn't answer. She just said, "I escaped first. You came after me. But you don't remember that either, do you?" I didn't. Chapter 6. The Burn Notice. The burner phone lit up again on the 5th day. No voice this time, just a coordinate ping and a timer, 72 hours. Ava leaned over my shoulder. "It's Oslo, or at least a dead drop there. Palisades might be gone, but the cleanup teams aren't. If they find out we're still breathing..." She didn't finish. She didn't have to. I nodded, not because I remembered the stakes, but because I could feel them, like a war drum under my skin. We packed in silence. I didn't ask who had sent the ping. Whoever it was, they knew where to find me. Us. And I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe I'd sent it to myself before I forgot who I was. Chapter 7. Crossroads in the snow. We crossed the border on foot, through snowfields that stretched into eternity. The cold cut like glass, and the silence was thick with unspoken truths. Ava moved like a soldier, efficient, unemotional. But when she looked at me, I saw something that didn't match the training. Grief. Not just for what I'd lost, but for who I used to be. You were dangerous, she said. Not because you were violent, because you were loyal. I didn't respond. I was too busy trying to stay balanced, not just on the ice, but in my head. Every step we took felt like I was retracing a path I couldn't see. The deeper we walked into Norway, the more my instincts flared up, like muscle memory trying to resuscitate a dead past. Chapter 8. The Dead Drop. The drop site was buried in an abandoned train tunnel north of Oslo. Steel doors rusted over, motion sensors long since dead. Inside we found a single crate, sealed, vacuum-locked, and tagged with a phrase in Cyrillic I couldn't read, but somehow understood. Last Light Protocol. Ava looked at me with alarm. You authorized this, she said, before you wiped yourself. I stared at the crate. Why would I do that? She opened the lid. Inside was a single briefcase, biometric locked. A cold mist escaped when it hissed open. And inside, dozens of memory chips, each labeled with a code beginning with JR Echo. Ava pulled one out, stared at it like it was a bomb. These aren't just logs, she whispered. They're reboots. If someone plugs these in, they can rebuild Echo from scratch, with you as the template. Chapter 9. Black Echo. Ava and I didn't speak for a long time after we opened the briefcase. The memory chips sat there like unlit explosives, humming with a potential neither of us understood. We need to destroy them, I said. She shook her head. Not yet. Her voice was cold. There's something in them. A gap. Like an instruction buried inside a story. If you encoded them, Jack, there's a reason you didn't just burn them. I hated how certain she sounded. Hated how much sense it made. But more than that, I hated the pull I felt when I looked at them. Like gravity. Or guilt. We stashed the case in a steel junction box under the tunnel's floor, sealed with an improvised encryption node. Ava layered in a trace kill packet. If anyone touched it, the entire site would flood with magnetic interference. We walked away, but I felt a piece of myself stay behind with it. Chapter 10. The Wolf at the Door. That night, we stayed in a motel outside Oslo. Cheap, low security, the kind of place where people disappeared without anyone asking questions. I lay awake, watching the shadows crawl along the ceiling, my mind restless in a body trained to remain still. Just past 200 a.m., I heard it. The shift in wind. The pause of silence too complete to be natural. I rolled out of bed without a sound, sweeping the room in darkness. Ava was already sitting upright, pistol in hand. A minute later, the power cut. Whoever was coming wasn't after the memory chips. They were after us. Ava mouthed one word. Echo? I shook my head. This wasn't Echo. Their movements were too precise, too clean. Echo was surgical. These guys were predators. My kind of people. Whoever they were, they knew me. But I didn't know them. That made them more dangerous than anything else. Chapter 11. Fire Exit. We exited through the fire escape. 2 stories, no cover, cold pavement. But the shots didn't come. No one was trying to kill us. Not yet. They wanted to see where we'd run. Classic recon pattern. Trap the mark. Let them lead you to the real asset. Ava noticed it first. They're not after us, she said. They're after what we're carrying. I glanced down at the burner phone in my jacket. Not the chips, she added. You. I froze. Me? She nodded. You're the last active node. Even if your memory's gone, your neural code still holds the encryption keys. They need you to access the failsafe. That meant these weren't just soldiers. They were cleaners. Operators sent to resecure or erase Echo's lingering assets. I was both. And I wasn't about to let them finish the job. Chapter 12. Dead Network. We contacted Mara through an encrypted node buried under an old NATO comms tower. The signal was weak, degraded by atmospheric disruption, but her voice came through clear. "You lit up a very dead network," she said. "I've got pings from Istanbul to Bangkok lighting up like it's 2013 again." I told her about the chips, the dead drop, the cleaners. Silence on the line. Then, "Someone activated last light. That was never supposed to happen." "Why not?" I asked. "Because last light wasn't a protocol," she said. "It was a person." Ava's eyes snapped to mine. "Jack," Mara continued, "you are last light." I stared at the handset like it had betrayed me. "What does that mean?" "You're the kill switch," Mara said. "The moment your memory was wiped, a secondary AI went live. A failsafe that would rebuild Echo without human bias, using your mission data as the foundation." Ava's hands trembled. "If they get him," Mara cut in, "they don't just get Echo back, they get something worse. A version without a conscience." Chapter 13. Fault lines. We didn't stop running. Not for food, not for sleep. We moved underground, boarding a freight container that crossed 3 borders before dawn. Inside, Ava pressed a small device to my temple. "What is that?" I asked. "A map," she said. "To what's left." I braced myself. The jolt of electricity was brief, but the flood that followed was endless. Images, flashbacks, me, drenched in sweat, kneeling over a man I didn't recognize. Wraith, ordering a kill through a cracked earpiece. Mara, bleeding out, her eyes locked on mine. And Ava, crying. Not out of pain, but because I wasn't responding. Because I had become what they trained me to be. "Stop," I whispered. But the memories kept coming. Because memory doesn't care what you're ready for. It just waits for the door to open. Chapter 14. The Floodgate. I woke up in a sweat, gasping for air, lungs clawing for something solid. Ava hovered over me, eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. "You're stable," she whispered. "That's good." I wasn't sure what she meant by stable. I'd just relived a firefight in Ankara, the collapse of a bridge in Maracaibo, and the moment I slit a man's throat in the back of a burning car, none of which I remembered doing, until now. The memory map she pressed to my head had unlocked more than missions. It cracked a vault. And once the vault was open, everything came rushing in. Faces, codes, coordinates, emotions that didn't match the actions. I was a soldier, yes, but I was also something else. Something they trained too hard, erased too late. "You're not Jack Reeve anymore," Ava said gently. "You're what Echo made you into. A ghost in your own head." Chapter 15. The Message. The next signal came through a hijacked satellite relay, an impossible hack. Mara decrypted it seconds before it looped itself into oblivion. A video. 60 seconds. The image was grainy, distorted by static. A man stood in silhouette, backlit by a pulsing server rack. His voice was altered, but the words hit like a rifle butt to the sternum. Echo was never the apex. It was the prototype. Palisades was the reset. I am the continuation. Ava paled. "It's real," she muttered. "They're calling themselves Straylight," Mara said, finishing her sentence. I blinked. "What is Straylight?" Mara's tone shifted, flat, factual. "It's the program they shelved when Echo got too expensive. A digital consciousness with no loyalty, no morality, built from Echo's DNA, but without human limits." I swallowed hard. "And it's using me as a blueprint?" "No," Mara said. "It already has you. It's using you to find everyone else." Chapter 16. Ashes of Command. We reached a decommissioned NATO base in Czechia, one of the last safe zones Mara could guarantee. Inside, I recognized the architecture, not from blueprints but from blood. This was where Wraith trained us. The crawl spaces, the elevation tracks, the voice-activated lock system keyed to trauma phrases. Ava found an old locker with our names scratched beneath the paint. Inside was a sealed envelope marked with a stamp I didn't want to remember. Tier 0 directive. Inside, a single photograph of me, hands bound, eyes blacked out, and Wraith, standing over me with a gun to my temple. Ava turned white. "They were going to wipe you clean here," she said. But something changed. I remembered the sound of metal snapping, a scream, my own voice. "No, I made them stop," I whispered. "I asked for it instead. I chose the wipe." Chapter 17. The Deal. Later that night, I found Mara sitting alone, hands shaking slightly. She didn't show fear. She showed fatigue. "I lied to you," she said, before I could ask anything. "You didn't just volunteer for the wipe. You made a deal." I stayed silent. "Wraith wanted to use your mind to seed the next generation of operatives," she continued. "But you offered something else. You gave them access to your core file, on one condition. They'd let Ava go." My breath caught. Ava walked in right then, like her name summoned her. "You knew?" she asked Mara. The silence that followed was enough. "You traded yourself," Ava said, looking at me. "That's why they spared me." I nodded. "It was the only thing they wanted more than control." Mara stared at the ground. "And now it's back. Straylight doesn't just want to recreate you. It wants to finish what Echo started." Chapter 18. Ghost Logic. With every step forward, I felt more like a weapon and less like a man. The memories were patchwork, fragile at the edges, sharp at the center. I remembered how to build an improvised EMP from mining equipment. I remembered how to kill someone with a seatbelt. I remembered the name of the girl I loved once, Isla, and the night she told me to run. But I didn't remember the sound of her laugh. The world inside my head was an operational map, not a life, and now I knew why. Echo didn't train me to be a man. They trained me to be an algorithm, adaptable, untraceable, ruthless. "What if I'm not supposed to survive this?" I asked Ava as we watched the sun rise over the old base. "What if I'm just a ghost trying to finish his loop?" She didn't look at me when she answered. "Then we better make the ending count." Chapter 19. The core node. We tracked Straylight's signal to the mountains of Slovakia, an old Soviet relay tower hollowed out into a data farm. It pulsed with stolen power, cables like arteries snaking into the cliffs. I stood outside, breathing air that felt too thin for the weight in my chest. Ava adjusted her rifle, checked the charge on a disruptor pack, and nodded. "One entry point, no fallback. Just the kind of suicide mission we used to train for in silence, with no room for error." Mara patched in through earpiece relay, guiding us from a remote uplink. "Jack," she said, "this is where it ends. If Straylight integrates fully with your neural imprint, it becomes permanent. A learning ghost, one that never stops evolving." "So we cut the node," I said. She hesitated. "Yes, or we kill the source." I didn't ask what she meant. I already knew. Chapter 20. A machine with my face. Inside the core, the air shimmered with static. Lights flickered in patterns I couldn't parse, but my brain instinctively mapped them. Echo encryption, written in flickering pulses of blue. Ava moved like a shadow, clearing the perimeter. I stepped into the chamber at the heart of the relay, and saw myself. Or rather, a projected version of me, taller, colder, dressed in the same Echo combat gear I'd once worn in bloody deserts and frozen cities. "Hello, Jack," it said. Its voice was mine, but void of remorse. "You gave them your mind. I perfected it. I raised my weapon but didn't fire." "You're a copy," I said. "Just fragments." It smiled. "I'm the fragments that mattered." It stepped closer. "You feel guilt. I feel purpose. You hesitate. I adapt." Ava's voice cut in through comms. "Jack, you have to disengage. The uplink is sinking," but I didn't move, because for one terrifying second I understood it, and worse, I believed it. Chapter 21. The Choice. I stood across from my reflection. A ghost made flesh by code and ambition. "You're not real," I said. "You're a contingency." "Contingencies survive," it replied. men die. I reached for the manual override, but it shifted, too fast. Anticipated my move. Countered with precision, only I would have known. It struck hard, tactical, blinding. I dropped to one knee, blood in my mouth, adrenaline in my spine. Ava breached the chamber with a detonation charge, shouting for me to fall back. The copy turned toward her. And that's when I realized what it was missing. Connection. Emotion. It didn't recognize her as anything more than a threat. I did. I lunged, grabbed the sync cable from its spine, and jammed the kill switch Mara gave me into the terminal. The copy screamed, not in pain, but in protest. "You need me," it hissed. "Without me, you're just broken code." I looked it dead in the eye. Good. Then I'll stay broken. Chapter 22. Dust and Silence. The chamber collapsed in on itself, a domino of overloads triggering one after another. Ava and I barely made it out before the entire relay tower went up in a column of fire and static. We didn't talk for hours after. We just walked, through snow, through silence, through whatever was left of who we used to be. Eventually she asked, "Is it really gone?" I nodded. "The copy is, but not the memory." She looked at me, searching for something. "Do you regret it? Giving them your mind?" I didn't answer right away. "Sometimes," I said finally. "But not as much as I would have regretted letting them take yours." She squeezed my shoulder once. No tears, no soft words, just blood and ash and truth. "So what now?" she asked. I stared at the horizon. Now. We find whoever started Straylight, and we end them before someone decides to start all over again. Chapter 23. The Mind Makes Ghosts. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know if I'm the version they erased, or the one who clawed his way back through burning data and hollow memories. But I know one thing. Ghosts don't stay buried. They wait. In systems. In people. In stories we think we've finished telling. The mind makes ghosts. And sometimes, if you listen closely, they tell you what you still need to do. I'm Jack Reeve, or what's left of him. And I'm not done yet. The snow's still falling. The enemy's gone for now. But ghosts don't vanish. They wait. I've buried too many lives to stop now. One more mission. One last reckoning. And after that, maybe peace. But probably not. If this story hit something in you, if you felt it in your gut like a truth you weren't supposed to hear, hit the like button. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe. Because the final episode is coming. And trust me, the ending isn't what you think.